I think this whole idea of advanced advertising and the idea of OTT is the future. It's here, it's now, right? The capabilities are there. Consumers want to have choice in terms of relevancy, right? They're going to want to watch platforms and enjoy programming. Either they're going to subscribe to it or they're going to watch it in an ad-supported way. So it's not really the opportunity now to test and learn, but it's time to move, right? And if this whole industry wants to move the market from everything from the creative to dealing with data in a privacy-safe and regulation-safe way and actually monetize best across screens, then it's now time to move and not just test and learn. You look at measurement and cross-screen measurement and first trying to connect the dots for where there's not high walls and barriers. So you have the ability to take television data at scale in the US and digital ad server data from both the buyer and the seller. And you actually now have the pipes and capabilities in terms of technology to actually create really good cross-screen measurement and attribution. The way where it does start to fall apart is that the walled gardens have either aggregated analytics or they're cutting off the data, and you have to do that kind of measurement only inside their platform, which then does cut it off from the broader investments that a brand is making, right? And if the biggest part of their budget is video in general, meaning whatever sight, sound, and motion medium you want to be on, it does make it a challenge if then you have big parts of your budget and investment going to somewhere that has to be measured differently, or in some cases, not very well at all. Even in the US, I think everyone is being cognizant and looking at the regulation that's happened in Europe as a template of what could happen in the US. So it's given us a bit more time to think about it. But in general, when you're connecting screens and you're looking at data that's coming from television viewership as well as digital ad impressions or digital content viewership and exposure, and you are a platform, then it's a little bit unclear as to how do you have all of the right consent in place from a European standpoint to be able to connect those dots, which is really what's required, right, if you're going to have truly audience-driven cross-screen capabilities. So the media companies in Europe have that direct relationship that they can get that consent, but how does that work, from the smart TV makers and what they have to do in terms of getting consent the way that they do now in the US, right? You're opting in for enhanced television capabilities on your smart TV, and with that, they do disclose, and we collect this kind of data, and this is what it's used for. A lot of those types of frameworks haven't quite come into Europe yet, and I think it's just because people don't know what is that going to look like to the regulator when you're doing that, and is it even possible if you're not a media company or one of the walled gardens, right? So in some ways, the regulation is helping the walled gardens act even more like a walled garden because it's now helping them keep safer in terms of regulation. So I don't know that that was the intent of the regulation. The intent of the regulation was probably more around consumers to have choice and notice. But yeah, that is a challenge in terms of how do you replicate what's working well in the US and Europe. I don't think that the people like in our space or what we do has necessarily figured that out yet.